And what has happened here is an example of building Canada strong.
Well, for the first time in 15 years, Winnipeg's New Flyer Industries is building transit buses from start to finish completely here in Canada.
To create more jobs and bolster Manitoba's economy and technology and zero emissions, all three levels of government announced an all-Canadian bus manufacturing facility here in Winnipeg.
After more than 15 years of cross-border manufacturing, Canada has finally done something many analysts once considered nearly impossible. A major transit bus has been built completely inside Canada, from start to finish, without crossing into the United States for final assembly. It may look like just another vehicle leaving a factory floor. But behind the scenes, this moment could signal a major shift in North American manufacturing strategy. The development took place in Winnipeg, Manitoba, where a fully assembled transit bus recently rolled off the production line at a facility operated by New Flyer Industries.
There are many things in the world we can't control. We can't control what is going out south of the border or in the Middle East, but we can control what we're doing here in the country.
New Flyer makes 20 bus shells every week. 15 of them are shipped and finished in the United States. The rest for transit systems across Canada.
For the first time in more than a decade, the bus was completed entirely within Canada. It did not need to cross the US border for final assembly, testing or finishing work. New Flyer is one of the largest transit bus manufacturers in North America and supplies vehicles to cities across Canada and the United States.
We know that what has happened here at New Flyer can become something we can do at a larger scale. And there could be New Flyer in many sectors and also in many parts of the country. And so we know that in times of hardship, Canadians roll up their sleeves and we are able to build back and build back strong. And what has happened here is an example of building Canada strong.
Until now, many buses connected to this production system required cross-border manufacturing steps. But the vehicle produced in Winnipeg marks the first fully domestic production cycle in over 15 years. And this is where the story becomes more interesting. What may appear to be a routine industrial milestone is now attracting attention from economists, policymakers, and manufacturing experts who see it as a potential turning point in Canada's approach to industrial production. One reason this moment is significant is because of the rules that had shaped North American bus manufacturing for decades. The United States enforces procurement policies known as Buy America regulations. These rules apply to vehicles purchased with U.S. federal transit funding. Under current regulations, at least 70% of the vehicle's components must be produced in the United States, and the final assembly must also occur on American soil. These rules were originally designed to protect American manufacturing jobs. However, they also influenced how companies across North America structured their supply chains. Manufacturers that wanted access to the large U.S. transit market often had to send partially completed buses across the border to American plants for final assembly.
It reinforces that we set our mind to it, Canada can compete.
Manitoba chipped in $23.4 million, the feds a $15 million loan. Canada's industry minister says the trade war with the U.S. proves Canadian manufacturing is vital.
But the new Winnipeg assembly line changes that equation. The expanded facility is expected to create around 250 new manufacturing jobs. And once the production system reaches full capacity, the factory could produce hundreds of fully assembled buses every year. But the numbers tell only part of the story, because the deeper issue lies in how this manufacturing system developed in the first place. For years, Canadian manufacturers operated within a cross-border production system shaped by American procurement policies. Canadian factories handled many early stages of bus manufacturing. Engineering design, structural fabrication, and steel frame construction often took place in Canada. But the final step in the production process usually happens somewhere else. To qualify for American transit contracts funded by federal transportation programs, the buses had to complete their final assembly in the United States. As a result, partially built vehicles were regularly shipped across the border for finishing work. This arrangement created an unusual situation. Canada controlled the engineering expertise and much of the production capacity. Yet the final stage of manufacturing, the stage that often generates the most valuable industrial jobs, was tied to American soil. And this is where the situation begins to shift. Because the Winnipeg facility was designed to change that pattern. By completing the entire manufacturing process within Canada, the country now keeps more of the economic value generated by each vehicle. Final assembly jobs often involve highly skilled labor, specialized testing, and advanced manufacturing tasks. Keeping those roles inside Canada strengthens the country's industrial workforce. It also improves the stability of domestic supply chains. Instead of relying on cross-border logistics for final production steps, manufacturers can complete the process locally. For Canadian transit agencies, this means buses purchased for domestic transportation systems can now be produced entirely within the country. That change supports Canadian suppliers, engineers, and manufacturing workers, but the impact may extend beyond one factory. Economic analysts say domestic production capacity can help protect industries from disruptions tied to trade disputes, tariffs, or political tensions. And that idea has become increasingly important in recent years. Because behind the factory expansion lies a broader discussion about economic strategy. But the real story may not be about buses at all. The shift in Winnipeg comes at a time when trade tensions and tariff disputes have been rising across North America. Canadian policymakers have increasingly discussed reducing economic dependence on foreign production systems. In response, governments and industry partners have invested in domestic manufacturing infrastructure, and that investment is beginning to reshape how certain industries operate. The development in Winnipeg reflects a larger trend that is now visible across the global economy. For decades, globalization has encouraged companies to spread production across multiple countries. Manufacturers often built complex supply chains that stretched across continents. Parts could be designed in one country, manufactured in another, and assembled somewhere else entirely. This system helped reduce costs and increase efficiency. But in recent years, global events have exposed vulnerabilities within these international production networks. Trade disputes, supply disruptions, and geopolitical tensions have forced governments to rethink industrial strategy. Countries are increasingly focused on supply chain resilience. That concept means maintaining stronger domestic manufacturing capabilities even within a globalized economy. Canada's investment in domestic transit manufacturing fits directly into this broader strategy. Rather than relying entirely on cross-border systems shaped by foreign regulations, Canada is strengthening its ability to complete key manufacturing stages at home. This does not mean abandoning global trade. Canada remains deeply connected to international markets, but policymakers now recognize the importance of maintaining domestic production capacity in strategic industries. And this is why the Winnipeg assembly line is drawing attention far beyond the transit sector. Because the same idea could influence decisions in other industries, from transportation equipment to energy infrastructure and advanced manufacturing. At first glance, one bus leaving a factory may seem like a small industrial event. Factories produce vehicles every day, but sometimes a single production milestone signals a larger strategic change. For the first time in more than 15 years, a major transit bus has been built entirely in Canada from start to finish. That shift allows Canada to retain more manufacturing value at home. The bigger question now is whether this model expands to other sectors. Because if it does, Winnipeg's assembly line may represent more than a factory upgrade. It may mark the beginning of a broader shift in Canada's industrial strategy.